Formal ASEM seminar on human rights. I am Ji Hyung-gang, and for today's event, to welcome all. Thank you for being part of us despite your busy schedule. And today we will have around 350 participants from ASEM partners, international organizations, civil society, academia, and all the stakeholders who are interested in promoting and protecting the human rights of older persons. We appreciate your active engagement in advance and hope you all stay till the end. It's a great sadness that we could not be here with us at venue due to the COVID-19 and ongoing pandemic, but I hope the situation will be improved and recover very soon, and we could invite everyone for further discussions. Meanwhile, I'd like to welcome and introduce a few representatives here with us today, including Madam Hae-kyung Lee, Chairwoman of ASEM Global Aging Center's Board of Directors, Madam Eun-Hee, Executive Director of ASEM Global Aging Center, Her Excellency Ambassador María Castillo Fernandez, and a representative from the National Human Rights Commission of Korea. Thank you very much. Before we begin, I'd like to make announcements to the participants who visit this seminar venue today. To keep our safety from COVID-19, please make sure to wear your mask and cover your nose and mouth during the seminar. Hand sanitizers are available at the registration desk, so please use them whenever you need them. The main objective of the seminar is to share exemplary policies and best practices in diverse fields related to the human rights of older persons, as well as to discuss cooperative measures to further promote and protect the human rights of older persons of ASEM partners. To this end, the human rights of older persons, which is HROP supporters, consisted of older persons, are here with us today. The HROP supporters will contribute to raising their own voices to the discussion about promoting and protecting the rights of older persons. So please welcome the supporters with a big round of applause. Thank you very much. The 3-day seminar will commence with today's opening ceremony and will provide a meaningful platform to present and discuss the protection of the human rights of older persons in the post-COVID-19 era. We ask for your active participation and strong interest. All the online participants are required to remain muted at all times during the seminar, and while the camera could be either turned on or turned off. But please make sure that when taking the floor, the meeting host will have to turn on the camera and unmute the sound, and this will ensure the best possible sound quality and smooth operation for all participations. So please also be advised that today's seminar will be live streamed on the seminar's YouTube channel in both Korean and English. And to the participants who would like to refer to the seminar materials, please visit ASEM Global Aging Center's website for the seminar program book and other seminar materials or Asia Europe Foundation's website. The opening ceremony consists of welcome remarks of Ambassador Toru MORIKAWA, Executive Director of Asia Europe Foundation, and Eun-Hee, Executive Director of ASEM Global Aging Center. And we have a congratulatory remarks on behalf of co-host of Eun-Hee Choi, Chairperson of National Human Rights Commission of Korea, and congratulatory remarks on behalf of co-organizers by María Castillo Fernandez, Ambassador of European Union to the Republic of Korea, and keynote address by Claudia MAHLER, independent expert on the enjoyment of all human rights by older persons. Now we will have 2 welcome remarks. His Excellency Ambassador Toru MORIKAWA, Executive Director of Asia Europe Foundation, has sent us his welcome remarks.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, representative of the steering committee of the informal Asia Europe seminar series, civil society and government representatives, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Asia Europe Foundation, I would like to convey our warmest thanks to our Korean colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea, the ASEM Global Aging Center, and the National Human Rights Commission of Korea, who have been our committed partners for the past year in preparing the 3 days of intensive discussion on human rights. Together, we welcome you all to the 20th Informal Asia-Europe Meeting Seminar on Human Rights on the theme Human Rights of Older Persons. The Asia-Europe Meeting, or ASEM, was launched in Bangkok in 1996 with the aim of providing a platform for fostering political dialogue, strengthening economic cooperation, and tackling global challenges together. The ASEM partnership is currently represented by 51 Asian and European countries, the European Union, and the ASEAN Secretariat. The Asia-Europe Foundation, or ASEF, was founded the following year in 1997 to complement the ASEM process by translating Asia-Europe meeting agenda into concrete activities that enables exchange between Asians and Europeans, between civil society and government. The informal ASEM seminar on human rights, which was launched in 1997, is one of the longest-running programs of ASEF. It provides a platform for non-confrontational dialogue on human rights issues between Asian and European officials and civil society. The seminar, which is co-organized by the Asia-Europe Foundation, the Raoul Wallenberg Institute of Sweden, and the Ministries of Foreign Affairs of France, the Philippines, Switzerland, and the People's Republic of China, is the only multilateral human rights dialogue that takes place at the ASEM level and between Asian and European government and civil society representatives. The seminars have shown the progression of the chosen formula as a climate of confidence and mutual understanding in accordance with the ASEM spirit has grown stronger over the years. The topics which focus on issues of common interest to the two regions have made high-quality discussions possible, and the high level of participation of the ASEM partners, as we see here today, shows the continued interest of the meeting. At this point, allow me to express our gratitude to our co-organizing partners for their strong support and commitment to the success of the seminar series throughout all these years. The 20th edition of the informal ASEM seminar on human rights will highlight the human rights of older persons. The world is experiencing an unprecedented pace of aging, and in 2018, for the first time in history, persons aged 65 or above outnumbered children under 5 years of age globally, according to the United Nations. And as the world population continues to age, the human rights dimension of aging becomes an ever-growing concern. The global health crisis created by COVID-19 pandemic brought the pre-existing human rights gaps to the forefront and showed us that it is more pressing than ever that countries address policies and practices surrounding the elderly and integrate the promotion and the protection of older persons into human rights and social equity frameworks. In this respect, the seminar's 4 working groups will center on the following thematic areas that have been identified as important for the realization of the human rights of older persons: autonomy and independence of older persons, social protection and human rights of older persons, age discrimination against older persons focusing on labor markets, and empowerment of older persons through education and training. An informative background paper was prepared by the 2 main rapporteurs from Europe, Titti Mattsson, Dean for Research and Professor in Public Law, Lund University, and from Asia, Andrew Burns, Professor of Law, University of New South Wales. We thank them sincerely for their commitment for providing their extensive knowledge on human rights of older persons in this comprehensive document, and we look forward to their presentation later today. We are also very fortunate to have several dignitaries and experts from international organizations, national human rights institutes, and civil society present, and I am certain we shall benefit from their contributions throughout the seminar. We are honored that Dr. Claudia MAHLER, independent expert on the enjoyment of all human rights by older people, will be giving the keynote address. I would like to warmly welcome all the experts and thank them for their willingness to share their expertise and experience, especially for their commitment to do so in the digital space. We are privileged to provide this valuable platform to combine different perspectives and open dialogues on human rights in an informal manner. The success of the seminar rests on the multidisciplinary backgrounds of the participants and their open-mindedness to participate. I wish the following 3 days will be filled with fruitful discussions, learning, and cooperation that will strengthen the autonomy, social protection, and participation of older persons within the ASEM constituency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Ambassador Toru MORIKAWA. Now, please join me in welcoming Madam Eun-Hee, Executive Director of ASEM Global Aging Center, for her welcome remarks.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eun-Hee. Distinguished guests, experts of ASEM partners who are joining us online. I thank all of you for your participation in this 20th Informal ASEM Seminar on Human Rights. ASEM Global Aging Center is an institution tasked with protecting and promoting the human rights of older persons of ASEM partners. And it is a great pleasure for us to be hosting the seminar in Seoul this time under the theme of the human rights of older persons. Allow me to express my sincere gratitude to those who have enabled this meaningful opportunity. Executive Director of the Asia-Europe Foundation, His Excellency Toru MORIKAWA, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea, His Excellency Chung Eui-young, Chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission of Korea, Madam Choi Young-ae, Ambassador of the European Union to the Republic of Korea, Her Excellency María Castillo Fernández. Thank you very much. And the UN Independent Expert on the Enjoyment of All Human Rights by Older Persons, Dr. Claudia MAHLER, Professor Titi Madsen, Professor Andrew Burns, you have my deepest appreciation for serving as our keynote speaker and main rapporteurs. This is the first time the Informal ASEM Seminar on Human Rights series addresses human rights of older persons, and it is being held online because of the global pandemic, that is the COVID-19. In this regard, there are many firsts and difficulties in preparing for this seminar. But given that the human rights of older persons are urgent issues, particularly in this period of the pandemic, this seminar is timely indeed for ASEM partners who are experiencing population aging and the COVID-19 pandemic at the same time. The pandemic has reminded us that although the virus does not discriminate, its damages are disproportionate. It has also shown that the lives of older persons are the most affected. Not only has COVID-19 threatened the health and lives of older persons, it has also exacerbated ageism across our society, stigmatizing them further as weak and vulnerable, a burden to society. But such violation of older persons' rights is not newly emerging by COVID-19. I believe that the pandemic is simply uncovering ageism that has been deeply rooted in our society. In 2015, the Global Alliance for the Rights of Older Persons conducted a survey on ageism in 50 countries. Around 2,000 older persons who took the survey responded that they were excluded from social or policy priority, ignored, avoided, or disrespected, subject to various forms of violence or abuse, even forced eviction, neglect, or abandonment. So far, there have been numerous discussions and efforts on older persons' rights in the international society, including the adoption of the UN Principles for the Older Persons in 1991, the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging in 2002, the sessions of the UN Open-Ended Working Group on Aging that is being held every year for a decade since 2011, and the GANRI Working Group on Aging since 2016. These efforts notwithstanding, even to this day, in 2021, older persons' diversity and rights are neither respected nor seen as a policy priority. And older persons' contribution to and their role in our society are not fully recognized. One of the reasons ageism and age discrimination are still prevalent and even worsening during the pandemic era can be found in the absence of an international convention on older persons. Where there are conventions on the rights of women, children, people with disabilities, and migrant workers, the lack of one for older persons implies that age-based discrimination is legitimate and even socially acceptable. In this context, our discussions devoted to the rights of older persons for the next 3 days will be an important opportunity for us to build collective understanding and seek mutual cooperation for our role to protect and promote older persons in the absence of a legally binding instrument. Because words alone are not enough, it is now time to act. Put it into practice. I look forward to your insights and ideas on what we can do to protect and promote the human rights of older persons. I once again welcome and thank all the participants and distinguished guests for your contribution and participation in this seminar. Thank you.
Now we have 2 congratulatory remarks on behalf of the co-hosts and co-organizers. The first, Madam Eun-Hee, Chairperson of National Human Rights Commission of Korea, has sent us her congratulatory remarks.
Hello, I am Eun-Hee Choi, Chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission of Korea. I would like to extend my congratulations on the opening of the 20th Informal ASEM Seminar on Human Rights. And as Chair of the Working Group on Aging of the Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions, I am very pleased to participate in such an important human rights seminar. The informal Asia-Europe Meeting Seminar on Human Rights has been held over the past 20 years. And this is the first time that the seminar focuses on the topic of the rights of older persons. This year's topic clearly shows that aging and older persons' rights are one of the most pressing human rights issues of our time that can no longer be ignored. In this regard, I would like to thank the ASEM Global Aging Center and the Asia-Europe Foundation for their hard work to organize and host this seminar. Aging is one of the most critical human rights issues we all face. Despite awareness-raising efforts and other activities of the UN General Assembly, UN Secretary General, and related organizations, aging still remains one of the key challenges facing humanity. In particular, the spread of COVID-19 aggravates the situation of older persons who are already vulnerable both physically and economically. Accordingly, the National Human Rights Commission of Korea is taking swift action to protect the rights of vulnerable groups during the pandemic. recognizing particular vulnerabilities of older persons in the pandemic situation, the Commission is making it a top priority to protect the basic rights of older persons, such as the right to life, and is stepping up efforts in this regard at the national and international levels. Last year, the Commission distributed international guidance on COVID-19 and human rights to domestic organizations in a prompt manner to prevent human rights violations in times of COVID-19, while sharing our activities related to COVID-19 with the international community. According to documents submitted to the UN General Assembly, older persons are faced with 4 key challenges of discrimination, poverty, violence, and lack of concrete policies or support. These challenges are directly linked to the issues we discussed today. I hope this seminar offers an opportunity for experts and participants from different backgrounds to put their heads together and find a solution to these challenges, and look forward to substantial results from the upcoming session of the UN Open-Ended Working Group on Aging this year based on the outcomes of today's discussion. Lastly, I would like to ask all of you to support the ASEM Global Aging Center in its endeavors to protect and promote the rights of older persons as a global hub located in Korea to advance older persons' rights. I thank you once again for your participation and wish you and your family good health. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Eun-Hee Choi. Next, the congratulatory remarks will be addressed by Her Excellency María Castillo FERNÁNDEZ, Ambassador of the European Union to the Republic of Korea. So please welcome Her Excellency Ambassador María Castillo FERNÁNDEZ with a warm round of applause.
Thank you so much. 안녕하세요 in Korea, and good afternoon to our friends in Europe, in Asia, and good morning to our friends in Europe. It's a real pleasure for me, someone who has worked in Asia, Europe affairs for more than 20 years, to be part of this platform today on a topic which connects us, European nations, connects the people. It's the human dimension, as Ambassador MORIKAWA has mentioned, the human dimension of an issue which is so important to all of us. A big challenge that we are, both Europe and Asia, are facing, the aging population. We know 1 of 6 people in the world will be aged more than 65 in the next years. And this in Europe is already very high. We have around 25% of our population which is aged more than 60. In Korea, it's increasing very quickly. And that's an example of an Asia country I know well. So we have to do something. As Executive Director Chi mentioned, we need to act. This is part of what I think will come out of this seminar. Very important now that COVID has put out all the problems that we know our elder people were facing. Let's have time to reflect and to look at them. It's about healthcare, it's about living in isolation, it's about digital challenges that they face in a world which has become more digital to connect people. It's about the jobs, the pensions they have. Would they be able to live with that? Would they be able to perhaps seek another job? Will they be able to re-educate, retrain? But in all of it, they face discrimination. We leave them apart. We think they are there, but they have contributed so much to what we are, all of us, today. So we need to take this opportunity, and it is very timely that ASEM, which is really where Europe and Asia meet together, to take this challenge and this discussion forward. The European Union is fully committed, and you know very well, to human rights around the world, but older persons as well. No discrimination to any of the groups, and especially take these challenges seriously and try to work together on equality, on non-discrimination. We have tried to put some legislation in place, the age discrimination provisions, on the framework of employment and equality in our work, but also internationally, working with you in the Madrid International Plan for Action on Aging that continues and that allows a policy framework for discussions and showing to policy makers how they can perceive, they can interact and care for older people. But we also have adopted some conclusions between the EU countries to see how we can put together human rights participation and well-being of older persons in the area of digitalization. I think that is a big challenge they are all going to face, and we will need to speak about it. How we can help them, how we can help them to reach in this new area. But certainly much more to be done at multilateral, bilateral level. At UN, you're going to work to speak about, the conclusions of the open-ended working group. In New York, you have the third committee of the UN National Assembly. You have the Human Rights Council. This is one of the issues we should bring to the Human Rights Council, the Commission for Social Development, and much more. And ASEM Europe together, speaking about this. This is a key issue that will certainly have an impact in our economies, in our societies, in the way we will be living in the future for the future generations. So I'm very happy to see this discussion going, to see that ASEF is involved, to see the human rights commissions of many Asian countries also involved. Very thank you for that. And to see so prominent activists engaging people, as I have here in front of me from Korea, but I know that there are also many of them engage in online, and I'm very happy to see them. And I want also to thank to Chairwoman Lee and Executive Director Chi for being here and for pushing this agenda forward, which is very important. We need people that believe and people that are engaged to make things change in our societies. So I hope to all of you that you have a very fruitful discussions, and we need to continue this. I'm sure you have been having this discussion for several years, and I hope to be here in Korea and to follow these discussions from here. Thank you so much. Kamsahamnida.
Thank you very much, Her Excellency Ambassador María Castillo Fernández. Now we will have the keynote address from Dr. Claudia MAHLER, independent expert on the enjoyment of all human rights by older persons. We will watch the pre-recorded video of the keynote address prepared by Dr. Claudia MAHLER.
First of all, I would like to thank the organizers, in particular the Asia-European Foundation, for the kind invitation to deliver the keynote speech to the 20th Informal ASEM Seminar on Human Rights and the Human Rights of Older Persons. We are meeting in difficult times, a time that clearly shows the shortcomings of our human rights system with regard of older persons. The pandemic put the spotlight on existing protection gaps in the international legal framework, which we need to close through our joint efforts. This is why the mandate's first report to the General Assembly on my first report as the independent expert on the enjoyment of all human rights by older persons focuses on COVID-19 and the human rights of older persons. 3 months after taking up my functions, the report examined the legal framework governing rights to health, adequate standard of living, palliative care, age discrimination, contextualized them in the onset of the pandemic, looked at their impact to older persons, and provided recommendations in those areas. To inform a human rights-based approach to older persons in the context of COVID-19, there continues to be an urgent need for disaggregated data, which was also the focus of the last thematic report submitted to the Human Rights Council. This need will remain valid when states tackle prevention and continue response to the spread of the pandemic. The pandemic illustrated tragically the ageist approach has been vivid around the world. At times when solidarity between generations is crucial, stigmatized language should not be tolerated. Governments must monitor and implement measures to prevent ageist approaches which can lead to older persons experiencing abuse, violence, and neglect. Measures to protect the human rights of older persons, including their rights to health during the pandemic, must be in compliance with human rights law and not discriminate on the basis of age. Any measures to contain the virus, including isolation measures targeted at protecting older persons from contracting the virus, should be in respect to autonomy, independence, and dignity of older persons. Older persons must be consulted. The absence of age as a clear ground for discrimination reveals a clear gap in the international human rights framework. Autonomy and independence of older persons was and is still at stake during the pandemic. We have witnessed that older persons did not get sufficient support to live independently. During the crisis, the autonomy of older persons was not seen as a basic human right, and older persons were unable to make their own choices because they were not fully informed, and therefore options were narrowed. Autonomy is a core principle of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Even though aging is not be associated with disability, the legal framework can provide guidance on the scope of the concept of autonomy, as well as applied to older persons with disabilities. The United Nations Principles for Older Persons, the principle of independence, describes the importance for older persons to have access to adequate food, water, shelter, clothing, and healthcare throughout the provisions of income, family and community support, and self-help. Likewise, older persons should have the opportunity to find paid work or have access to education and training to allow them to live independently. In light of the intensity of aging in many societies, there is a need to ensure that older persons are enabled to lead autonomous lives. This calls for a paradigm shift that focuses on inclusion of older persons in society at all levels, encompassing age-friendly communities and environments, and promotes the autonomy and dignity of older persons. The realization of the right to an adequate standard of living is essential to preventing the social exclusion of older persons. It is considered to be indispensable to the fulfillment of all other rights and encompasses all the basic subsistence rights. The aim is to ensure that everybody is able to live in conditions of dignity in which they are able to satisfy their needs and interact with others. Exclusion from material and financial resources in later life is one of the manifestations of social exclusion. Poverty can exacerbate the denial of basic human rights as well as limit choices and opportunities for a tolerable life. In many societies, older persons comprise a disproportionate number of the poor, the persistent poor, and the poorest among the poor. The important role of social protection is recognized in several international and regional instruments and should be fully implemented and enforced in order to promote the autonomy of older persons. Not receiving a pension or not having insurance often inhibits older persons from seeking medical attention, putting them at higher risk of social isolation and of being denied access to healthcare. Financial services such as loans or mortgages or insurances are often not available to older persons or are prohibitively expensive because of the inappropriate use of age as a criterion, including for determining risk. Previous reports issued by the mandate recommended that states recognize the human right to social security in domestic law. Non-contributory and contributory pension schemes must be guided by international human rights standards for the right to social security. States should develop social protection and poverty reduction programs, particularly designed for older persons, including those with disabilities. Older persons have much to contribute based on the considerable skills, wisdom, and expertise and experience they have acquired throughout their professional life, and they should be encouraged to continue working if they wish. Therefore, workplaces and job options that include older workers should be developed as well as voluntary work. Older persons have indispensable roles in assisting peers and participating in intergenerational activities by helping younger generations and by contributing to the education, for example, of grandchildren. This will help reinforce social cohesion and the interaction of older persons with other members of the community. Mandatory retirement ages and age discrimination in recruitment procedures prevent older persons from the right to work and may further social exclusion. Older persons have a right to decide whether they want to work and what job is suitable for them. Women tend to be more disadvantaged with regard to formal and informal job opportunities. The promotion of lifelong learning is essential for older persons to be able to deal with constantly changing circumstances, requirements, and challenges for their active participation in society and for an autonomous life continuing into old age. Lifelong learning is not only a precondition for longer participation in the labor market, it also affects the social integration of older persons. At the same time, it is important to maintain a range of programs that do not exclusively target older persons, as that would be limiting and could lead to the creation of social spaces of exclusion. The specific needs of older persons should be taken into account in the planning and design of educational offers, as older persons learn differently from younger ones. Distance learning and digital training should be offered to older persons in order to bridge the gap among generations and avoid dependency on others as a result of lack of knowledge of information and communication technologies. I would like to conclude with the following things. Ageism cannot be tolerated, and we need to combat ageism and age discrimination. The international, regional, and national legal framework must cover all forms of age discrimination, and this includes also remedies and redress. A legal framework is the first step to ensure that the rights are implemented, which is, in practice, leads to new approaches on older persons. It is time to implement a human rights-based approach, which will lead us to shift to see that older persons are rights holders. We need to break down barriers which hinder older persons from the full enjoyment of their human rights, and we must close the existing gaps and realize that a comprehensive international treaty would make a difference for the enjoyment of all human rights by older persons. I'm looking forward to our joint actions to achieve this goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Claudia MAHLER. And please give a big round of applause to all speakers, including His Excellency Ambassador Toru Morikawa, Madam Eun-Hee, Madam Eun-Hee Choi, Her Excellency Ambassador María Castillo Fernández, and Dr. Claudia MAHLER for officially opening the 20th Informal ASEM Seminar on Human Rights with the great speeches. Now the ASEM Global Aging Center, one of the co-hosts of this seminar, has prepared a short video clip about importance of human rights for older persons. So ladies and gentlemen, let's watch it together. All participants, please come up to the stage and we will have another photo session and all participants here at this venue. So would you please come up to the stage while we are playing the video clip? 네, 홍보 영상이 진행이 되는 동안요. 여기 베뉴에 함께하고 계시는 모든 분들과 함께 사진
As we are playing the video,
to the all participants at this venue. 네. 오늘 베뉴에 계시는 모든 참가자분들은 앞쪽으로 이동을 해주시면 감사하겠습니다. 소중한
We'll have a short group photo opportunity.
Hope you all enjoy watching the video clip and thank you so much for your attention.